Contradiction number 3, democracy as something best displayed outside the West. This contradiction has been exposed to me very recently since Brexit and the election of Donald Trump in America. But it has a background that goes beyond recent Western history. Many countries in Africa, new as they are learning just what democracy means for them. For many, democracy is seen to be a Western import, and since most things Western are meant to be advanced, then democracy is taken to be an advanced political system. At independence, many of these countries simply inherited Western institutions, parliaments, judiciaries, free press, etc. However, only a few decades into their lives as new nations, many of these countries regressed into civil conflict, primarily based on ethnicity. Decades later, violence has exhausted these countries, molded their societies, and has therefore increased the desire for a more peaceful and united state of affairs. Democracy has given them this solution. No matter what one may feel about this group or that, if we can all accept the result of a fair election, then we can accept a leader from a rival ethnic group, not because we like it that way, but because we've lived through the violent alternative, which is too costly. Yes, in these countries one can say, I can live with my foe in power if it means living in peace. Getting to this place, however, for many citizens of many countries has been difficult. For many, loved ones have been killed, property destroyed, and land stolen. At the time, it seemed somewhat insensitive when the so-called international community intervened and declared that these countries should respect democracy. Just think about it. Your father and mother have been killed by a rival ethnic group and you've been driven out of your land. Violence has torn your community asunder. Then some president or some prime minister of a distant country sends a public message saying that you're not being democratic enough and that you should accept the result of the election. Then they send over some diplomats to help your group settle a deal with the group that killed your family and stole your land. How does one even begin to comprehend such an abstract notion like democracy when what you want is justice? Unfortunately, justice will not be dispensed because those who represent your ethnic group are not in power, and your loved ones are dead and are not coming back. However, you know the other side are fighting for power for the same reasons because your own community is not free from guilt. Thus, amidst a ruined life, you begin to see the sense in this thing called democracy. If everyone just accepted the result, then there would be no need for violence. It's not what you like, it's not what you want, but it is fair. Yes, those who killed your family must pay, but that is no longer sufficient. It's no longer the solution. Somehow and at some time, we must all stop killing each other. And if it means letting justice give way to reconciliation and forgiveness, then so be it. More importantly, if having the leader of your rival group in power is what it takes to keep people from murdering each other, then so be it. You can always vote against them next time. So you end up accepting this thing called democracy. Your life is in ruins, but for the good of your community and the future of your country, you do what you can to put some sort of life back together again and move on. You move on knowing that democracy is not there because you like the leaders, but because it's fun, but because it is fair, and the alternative of violence is not worth having. It is due to such persuasions that millions across the world have not only accepted democracy for themselves, but are now advocating it. They look to the West as a group of nations far advanced in this political system, and sometimes are even thankful for Western intervention in their own political turmoil. Then Brexit, then Trump. All of a sudden, these advanced Western democracies don't like democracy anymore. For what? Surely there must have been a dictator who launched a nuclear bomb, or someone who started a civil war, or a leader who wanted to be king or queen and wiped out half the tribes in their countries. Surely it had to be something this severe. Maybe Hitler or Stalin had come back to life and were in disguise in British and American political leadership. No, none of this was true. Instead, Britain voted to leave the European Union in a referendum, and Donald Trump, who has negative views on women and Muslims and Mexicans, or immigrants generally, became president. That's what happened. The world watched in disbelief as those who were meant to be the reference point of democracy all of a sudden ceased to understand it for themselves. You even saw many Americans saying, "Trump is not my president." After you yourself have endured so much suffering and had to forgive so much death and destruction in the name of Western democracy, even after Western nations told you and your tribe to accept a leader, even after they were responsible for killing your family and ruining your life, Americans don't like Trump because of his views on Mexicans and women and Muslims. I mean, has he done anything bad to Muslims or is about to? The question is this: was he elected? Yes. Was the election fair? So far as we can see, yes. Can you still vote against him in 4 years? Yes. So what's the problem? If you're a woman, you don't have to talk to him. If you're a Muslim and you feel uncomfortable with him being president, then just vote against him next time and persuade others to vote against him as well. I asked the same questions about Brexit. Was the referendum fair? Yes. Was anyone stopped from voting? No. Were both sides allowed to freely put their views and opinions forward? Yes. So why do so many people, and this includes some European leaders, talk as if Brexit is some kind of anti-democratic or anti-liberal affair and is just something that's not quite fair? Britain is leaving the EU because of democracy. The point is, it has nothing to do with whether you like the outcome of elections. Remember, some people have put up with the outcome after their families have been killed. We may not like Brexit, we may not like Trump, but this is what democracy is. The anti-Trump and anti-Brexit outrage has seriously discredited democracy in the eyes of many in the world. It has basically told the world that if you don't like your election result and you make enough noise, you can get something out of it. But that's exactly where so many of these countries have been, and they don't want to go back there because we, advanced Western democracies, said so. Someone from a new third world country may now well say, "I've forgiven a murderer, but you can't forgive an anti-feminist. I've tolerated land grabbers, but you can't tolerate a bigot. I've endured the rigging of elections, but you moan about a fair result." The contradiction is this: we perceive Western democracies as advanced when the real attitude towards democracy is also very well, perhaps even best exemplified outside the West. The ordinary member of the New World can now tell the anti-Trump and anti-Brexit protester, what democracy is. It isn't nice, and it may not be what you like, but it is fair, and you have to live with it. Besides, in most cases, you will probably win the next time. Many around the world living under leaders who persecute their minority groups are more advanced in their attitude to democracy than what America and the UK have recently displayed.